This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I am joined by legendary Cutman Stitch Duran here in Sheffield. Stitch, how are you? How are you finding the bright lights of Sheffield?
Yeah, well, the bright lights, the cloudy skies, and the rain. It's pretty normal, but it's good to be back to here in the UK and see guys like you, and it's kind of like a big giant family reunion.
I was going to say, we've obviously just had a brief chat there off camera, and the last time you was over was when Tyson fought Dillian. Some time has passed since then. Do you miss these transatlantic flights?
And I tell people I love my job. It's not even a job; it's an adventure. So the hardest part is traveling. And if I could put up with that, I'm doing okay. But I was asked today because I got in yesterday afternoon. Do I have jet lag? I said, no, I'm beyond that. I already know how to control that. But yeah, if this is the worst that could happen, I'm doing okay, Andy.
Well, last Stitch, you're a family man. You've been in and around combat sports for many, many a year now. At what point does that time come where you just think maybe I do need to settle down a little bit?
It's a good question. But I think when my mechanics start slowing down, at that point, I always want to give the fighter that opportunity to give him 100%. But if I'm at 90%, then maybe it's time to continue educating and stay off the steps.
Is it hard to think about that, especially if you have such close relationships with certain fighters you might work with?
No, I feel great right now. My knees are good. My back's good. I feel good. So that's not in the near future. So I'm glad just doing what I do.
I'm glad to hear it's not in the near future, Stitch. And obviously, you're here to support your man, to work with your man, Jose Zepeda, on Saturday night. He faces one of the UK's best contenders at 140 in Dalton Smith. Um, Going into this fight, Dalton's the favourite, and it's simply a matter of is it a fight too soon for Dalton? How much does the team know about Dalton Smith?
Yeah, well, I've seen him fight. So I understand his lifestyle or his type of fighting, but I also know Chon Zepeda. And this is the type of fight I was telling Jamie, the cutman, that it's good that they have good cutman in each corner because it's going to be that type of fight. You'll see some bruising, you might see some cuts, but I think fans are going to have that type of fight where they're going to enjoy. It's going to be one of these video game type of fights.
With Jose Zepeda, obviously he's competed at world level before. We know about the talent and the experience he brings into the ring. How key of a factor do you feel like that could play a part on Saturday night?
That's a good question, Andy. There was yesterday he did an interview, and I caught a point where I brought it up to him more on the psychological aspect. But he says, when I fought my first 10-round fighter, top 10 fighter, which is Jose Ramirez, I felt there was a difference in progression, in styles. I think Dalton's in that same position, where he fights a guy that, has, 43 fights. And we'll see how Dalton handles it, and we'll see how Jose handles it. So I'm looking forward to a good fight.
I heard a comment earlier, I think it was from Eddie during the press conference, where Jose's apparently said that if he was to be unsuccessful, it might be a decision for him to make as to what he wants to do with his career then in terms of retirement or not. Does that mean that he goes into Saturday night with a mentality of, I have nothing to lose, I'm coming here to take everything from Dalton Smith?
100%. At this point, I mean, I just left him right now, and psychology is a big moment for him, and you try to encourage him with all psychological positive aspects. And but yeah, I think he knows that it's the old lion with the new lion type of scenario. Does he still have a bite in him? We'll find out tomorrow.
I know it's not a question maybe you can answer for him, but he's in a stacked division, so many talented fighters at 140 pounds. It's a difficult one to win a world title in currently. What do you feel like Jose's ultimate goals are still within boxing? If he is to be successful on Saturday night, what does he want to go on to do?
Well, I think economically he's done well. I was talking to his brother Renee, and they've invested in real estate and all that. But I think he wants to go out on the shield, and that's the sign of a true warrior.
Is that just the Mexican fighter in him as well?
Yeah, and I was going to say the Mexican fighter in him, of course, as he's just kind of breaking his last sweat, he's listening to Mexican music and just getting, pumped up. So, yeah, I think the mental game is real strong for him right now. And he understands the situation. He's not dumb. He knows the circumstances. Been there and done that.
How much is he enjoying the prospect of fighting over here in front of that crowd in Sheffield as well?
Well, I think that's a motivation for him also, and is that a disadvantage for Dalton? People are hitting him up for tickets because I see it all the time where guys are fighting in their hometown, and it's a very stressful situation because outside of just fighting, you got to deal with the fans and the family, and everybody wants to be important at that point.
Stitch, moving away from all things Jose Zepeda and Dalton Smith, there's always a couple of other topics I want to get your thoughts on. As a man who has worked with Tyson Fury in the past, not currently, but you never know what the future could bring, we saw a cut open in sparring recently, which meant the postponement of the Oleksandr Usyk fight until May 18th. As his former Cutman, don't know whether you like using that word, but not currently working with him, what did you make of seeing that cut open, and how bad and severe of a cut did it look, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a good point. I've done a whole bunch of interviews regarding that, Andy. And, as I look at the cut, the picture that I saw is he's like this. So in reality, what he did is the cut is open, all right? But as you sit in natural position, it's a very thin cut. Though it's deep, it's a very thin cut. And those are the type of cuts that are very controllable. The blood will come down to the side of the eye, so it shouldn't be a problem. But was it right for him to take time off? 100%. May 18th, it's a good time for him. He's sparring now, which is fine, because that was more of a freak accident because you got the headgear that's here, and somehow, I guess it was the elbow that went up and sliced him. So it's part of the game, part of the nature of the game. And, I think, like I mentioned before, it's important for him to have a good cutman in his corner because you want to do a lot of preventing maintenance and not get there. And, the first time I worked with Tyson Fury, with Deontay Wilder, I told him, I said, look, I'm going to keep ice on you every round. I'm not going to wait till the inflammation starts or anything, swelling. I'm going to do a lot of preventing maintenance. And our final goodbye right before he got in the showers after the fight is he gave me a kiss and says, thank you for keeping ice on me. Little moments like that.
When you look at that fight now and how it could change the complexion of how it plays out, if you're Oleksandr Usyk, do you think that he will look to target that, try and open it back up? Obviously, we saw how much of a role it played when it opened up in the Otto Wallin fight and how that entire fight changed its tune. Do you think that's something Usyk will look to target, and how much discomfort he could cause Tyson if it was to open up?
Oh, 100%. It's a psychological game at that point, and does Usyk have that advantage by knowing that Tyson Fury got cut, 2-3 months before that? Is he going to work on it? Of course he is.
With a cut like that, Stitch, and given your experience within the sport, obviously there'll be a fair amount of scar tissue building up around that now. How much longer, or how long do you feel like that needs until it is as good as it can get, as fully repaired as what it can be?
May 18th is fine. Talking about scar tissue, no. If you have a good surgeon and you close it up real good, there's no such thing as scar tissue there. There's a lot of myths in this game, and that's one of them.
How can it affect his sparring then? So, as you said, you think he's just got back into camp now for sparring purposes, that is. Does he have to take it easy to begin with, or can he go back into the rhythm and the swing of things immediately?
Yeah, knowing Sugar, because I worked with Emmanuel Stewart for many, many, many years with Vladimir Klitschko, and I would say, yeah, you know what, let's work on it, but stay a little flexible on that side. Stay away from it as much as you can. It's one thing to get hit and get used to that, but if you continue working on that side of the cut, the side that was cut, then there's no need for it at this point. You can work on different techniques, work from here on down, just work on it.
Again, going back to your experience of anybody, whether it be boxing or MMA, could a cut like that prior to the fight change the game plan?
Yes, of course, 100%. For Tyson Fury, you kind of stay on your toes a little bit more, right? And do you want to go toe-to-toe? I don't know. Usyk, yeah, of course, it's going to motivate him because his team is going to say, go after the cut. That's the main thing, and all broadcasters and all fans are going to be looking at that moment. How is Usyk going to handle that, and how is Tyson Fury going to handle it?
Stitch, I know in the past you've not been one who's wanted to give predictions on fights, but I'm sure you, like the rest of us, are looking forward to seeing an undisputed king crowned in the heavyweight division come May 18th. Just want you to get your thoughts on the spectacle ahead and what you're hoping it delivers.
Oh, no, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think the pay-per-view numbers are going to be extremely high because people want to see a champion, and they want to see somebody that dominates. And, you get a guy like Usyk that came up and has done extremely well. Technique-wise, he's a very, very good fighter. You got Tyson Fury that, like I mentioned when I first met him, I told him, I said, when he fought Vladimir Klitschko and he beat him, I said, we could never understand how you body-wise and structure-wise could beat a guy that's so dominant and so disciplined like Vladimir Klitschko. But then I saw him fight Deontay Wilder, and his style of fighting can't be duplicated. He's like a Floyd Mayweather. You can't teach anybody how to fight like Tyson Fury. He has his own style, which is very effective.
I know you can't duplicate that type of style stitching again. We might be going a bit more into the tactical side of things now, but what is the route to trying to dethrone or to take somebody out like that? We saw Deontay Wilder, who's dropped Tyson on numerous occasions. It just wasn't enough. There are a couple of people questioning if maybe Tyson's punch resistance has faded a little bit when you look at the Ngannou fight. We haven't seen him fight since then. Do you feel like that might be a factor, do you think, at all, given the tough fights Tyson's had over his career with Deontay Wilder, especially in that Ngannou performance, that maybe his punch resistance is fading ever so slightly?
Well, I don't know if it is. It's more of the kind of power that Usyk's going to bring to the table. And yeah, of course, he has, with Tyson Fury, has the heart of a warrior. He's going to get dropped, he's going to get up. But if you get somebody that's a strong puncher like Usyk, then that might be a situation. And does it take its toll down the years? And one of the things, Andy, is you could beat time, or you could beat anything, but you can't beat time. And does that come in as a factor? We'll find out May 18th.
As a man who's worked in both MMA and boxing specifically, what have you made of Francis Ngannou's move over, his transition to the boxing world, and his performances against Tyson Fury, and most recently that devastating second round stoppage loss to Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, that was a cold knockout. Right, and the thing, I always look at fighters' reactions. Well, when he got dropped and he got up and he went through the standing 8 count, he said he was okay. He wasn't okay. And, and I saw Anthony Joshua look like he just kind of, like he was shooting a bow and arrow. He had that right hand cocked to the point where he threw it and Ngannou didn't respond to that. So he was hurt before he got knocked out, and kind of surprising because being an MMA fighter, they're used to getting ground and pound all the time, and I thought he was going to absorb those punches a little bit better, but Anthony Joshua hits like a brick anyway.
Would you say that's maybe a sign that Ngannou can't withstand the top heavyweights' power within the sport, or maybe struggled with adjusting to, obviously with age, that element of surprise had disappeared than what he had with Tyson Fury? Do you feel like maybe Ngannou isn't able to adjust or adapt to the top level in boxing, or he just came across somebody who was a man on a mission on the night?
Well, that's a good point. But I've always said is, a boxer can't go into MMA because they don't have that long-term experience. Well, same thing with Ngannou. He's a MMA fighter coming into boxing, and he's still, as they say, on the green side of boxing. So is that going to make a difference? Now they're talking about him and Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder hits like a dynamite, So, but so does Francis. So who connects first? And the same thing, that was a good point you were talking about. Tyson Fury, can he take the shots that he took before? Well, can Deontay Wilder take the shots that he took before? So it's a give and take, but it's good for the sport, to have these crossover type of fights, and we'll see what happens.
Just a word with kind of sticking with the theme of Deontay Wilder. We saw him lose to Joseph Parker before Christmas. I don't know whether you may have crossed paths at all with Joseph when Tyson was preparing for the Wilder fights. Obviously, he's trained by Andy Lee, who's also a part of Tyson's team. What did you make of Parker's win there, his victory against Zhilei Zhang, and kind of his resurgence in his career?
Bless his heart. God, it's good for anybody like that does well. I worked one of Joseph's fights when he fought in Dallas, and it's a good kid. And a lot of respect for all these guys. And, whenever you resurrect yourself and come back and do well, then it's a blessing for those guys. Those are the type of kids I like to work with.
Just away from all things boxing in terms of those fights, what's going on in your personal life, Stitch? What have you got working behind the scenes away from boxing, away from MMA?
God, I got a lot of great things going on, Andy. This April, I'm introducing Cut Cream. Has CBD products, vegetable stem cell, vitamin E, collagen, and has aloe vera, has all the proper ingredients for progressing your healing. And we've used it with boxers, we've used it with MMA fighters, we've used it with bare knuckle fighters. I used it with my brother who had surgery, and it accelerates the healing process. So now we're bringing it out public April the 12th. But also they're doing a documentary on my life. I wrote a book called From the Fields to the Garden, and it's called the same. So when I first signed with these guys, I got a call a week later that Triple G was fighting, of all places, the Garden, and that's the finale of the film. So we went up to New York, and they gave us all access. The Zone gave us all access. Triple G and the Garden. So we got that footage, and then COVID kicked in. And then when they came back, the first guy we interviewed was Tyson Fury. And then we're just about done with it. I have the trailer. I'll show you the trailer when we're done. But it turns out that I'm getting inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame April the 28th, and that's when we'll finish the filming. So we got all access to that event. But also, I can let you know, is in June, I'm coming out with my own cannabis product, Thai Stitch, and the company that makes it for Snoop Dogg and Elton John and all these high-profile people contacted me. And I said, look, the best weed I ever smoked was the year I was stationed in Thailand. So if you could create something as good as that, we'll call it Thai Stitch. So Thai Stitch is coming out pretty soon in Nevada. And then from Nevada, we'll go to California, because you can only sell it in the states that you grow it at. So we'll go start Nevada, California, they're looking at New York, New Jersey, and so on. So, yeah, a lot of good things are working out, so I might just stay off the ring, and concentrate more on the entrepreneurship of what's going on in my career.
Stitch, plenty of good things there to pick up on and to talk about it. But you mentioned being inducted into the Hall of Fame in boxing. That must feel like quite a prestigious honour for yourself.
I was a little embarrassed when I first got notified on that, and Bernardo Osuna, that does the commentating for ESPN, brought it out to the public, and yeah, it's been an honor, and I just got notified last week, actually, that in August I'll be inducted into Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. So, yeah, these are the good things that I never expected and never anticipated, never worked towards, but it's nice when you get recognized by your peers for all the effort that you've brought to the table. So for me, I'm real honored just to be part of those type of awards.
Stitch, it's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. Obviously, good luck to yourself and the team on Saturday night. Safe travels back to the US, and I'm sure I will catch you out there very soon.
Yeah, it's always nice to see you, traveling when I travel, because you're doing a good thing. But, I told you years ago, Andy, that I'm so proud of you, man, of doing what you're doing. You're very good at what you do. And anytime you want to be interviewed, I always give you time like I did today. So, wish you all the best, and happy birthday next week.
Stitch, that means the world to me, and I appreciate that, and thank you for the birthday message. Yeah, I'm sure I'll see you soon. Thank you.
No, of course, man. All the best to you.